everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome back to my channel. Today it is time for a new old project because I am going to be tackling a UFO. A UFO, if you are not aware, in this case in sewing, stands for an unfinished object. So I don't actually tend to have a lot of UFOs. I tend to usually go ahead and finish all of my projects. I think I only have maybe 3 or 4 UFOs. I do have a lot of times where I will finish a project and then never go back and fix what's wrong with it. So part of this also is that, but this is a UFO. So I don't know how much of this you can tell what this is because I think most of the identifying features are out of frame. But what you are looking at right here is the very top of my velvet ribbon, the burgundy and white early bustle gown that I made right when I started this channel back in January of 2020. And I did finish the fashion plate version of this, though then I broke a button and I had a thing to fix and I never went back and did those. So I do have to do those, but that's not what we're doing today. We are doing a new element to this project because in early March, I believe it was, of 2020, I started in on an evening gown or a ball gown bodice to go along with this dress that I was going to be wearing for the Victorian Festival in Port Townsend that year in March of 2020. Well, I think you know what happened. Yeah. So when I found out that that got canceled, I stopped working on the bodice. So for the last 2 years and a month and a half or so, in the corner right behind the camera where I hang all of my things that need attention, there has been hanging this. Now I know this does not look like much to you. This probably just looks like random black nothing to you, but this is actually a mock-up. I know. I made a mock-up of that pattern. I'm even seeing that I pinned it in places. There's pins here. There's pins here. I don't know what they go to. I know that this is the mock-up for this bodice project. I don't remember what I decided about it. Part of this is already ripped apart into individual pieces. And part of it is 1/2 of a bodice that is still all put together. I do not know if I made the changes that are pinned on this half of the bodice to this already. I think I at least did one because there's like something dirted on this piece right here. I think I really couldn't say where I was at. So the very first thing that I'm going to have to do with this project is sew this back together and try it on again because that mock-up no longer counts. And unfortunately at that time in my channel, I was not doing sewing vlogs like I am now, like this video. I was just sewing and then doing other videos. So I don't have the exact record of me trying this on or anything like that. So I have to start semi from scratch. I mean, I already have everything cut out with this, but also there's another tweak in this because back in 2020, I had drawn this sketch for this ball gown bodice. So this was my plan. I was gonna do like a longer bodice and then this weird thing and then this weird thing and those weird things and weird things. To be honest, it's not what I want anymore. So I guess it's good that I didn't actually go ahead and make it. So I have taken 2 fashion plates, this fashion plate right here, and this fashion plate right here, and the 2 ball gown bodices in these fashion plates. I have kind of combined them together, mixed in of course with my velvet ribbon gown to get this. So with this we've got the white sleeves with the velvet ribbon on them, and then we've got a velvet bodice, and then that center part is going to be white with like velvet ribbon going across, or at least strips of velvet going across. If I can do it with ribbon, great. If it has to be strips, okay. And I think there's going to be like hook and eye closures kind of hiding off here. Either that or maybe I'll do buttons, but I think I want to try to do hook and eye closures in the front kind of off center like that. I don't know that that was really a thing that they did at the time. That was definitely a thing that they did later in the Victorian period, but I don't think it had really started by the early 1870s. And then I may also do some sort of like overskirt drapey thing to go with it, but I don't know. And one of the reasons that I don't know is I know where my velvet is. My velvet has been sitting right next to my sewing machine for 2 years and 1.5 months, or actually longer because it was from when I started this project. It's been sitting there the entire time, so I know where that is. I don't know where the ivory silk is. I don't know if I have the ivory silk. I really hope that I do because I really want to at least get sleeves and the center part out of it. So I'm gonna have to dig that out. I have no idea how much I have. Assuming that I have any of it, I have no idea how much I have. So this could be an adventure. I did pull out the velvet ribbon that I have left from this project, or really that I have left from this project, and then my 19-aughts jumper dress because I used that velvet ribbon on that as well. I don't have enough, but Amazon still has it. So I just ordered another roll before I started filming this. It should be here on like Thursday or Friday, so that's gonna be fine because it's Tuesday right now, so yay. And I will link that velvet ribbon down below just in case you need copious amounts of burgundy velvet ribbon like I do. I've purchased at least 4 or 5, maybe more spools of that ribbon. Yeah, there's a lot in this dress. So I am going to get started by sewing my pieces back together from the mock-up, trying them on and drawing the new style lines on, because one of the biggest differences that you might notice from this bodice is that it is hitting at the waist and then has a pointed front, whereas that other bodice has like a peplum thing going on. I don't exactly know what I'm doing in the back. I think I'm going to do pointed back as well. I think. We'll see. But to start off with, let's put that bodice together. Okay, here is the mock-up from 2020 put back together. There are definitely some issues with it, but not what I think I thought were issues at the time. Like, for example, I had pinned out a pinch point here and that was still in there. I took the pins out because they did not make sense at all. I think maybe I was trying to move the straps more off the shoulder. I'm not really sure. It's not what I'm going for now. This is actually pretty close-ish to what I want, other than the fact that I know this is an evening bodice, but I'm just not super comfortable with super low bodices. And then there's also the fact of like, I'm going to be wearing the day bodice during the day and then going to this bodice at night, and it would just make things so much easier if I didn't have to change my chemise, or if I didn't have to wear like a different chemise or anything like that during the day. So I think that I need the neckline probably to cover the chemise. I mean, I will also have lace and ruffles and stuff here, so like that will help to hide it a little, but nevertheless I'm looking for a square neckline, and this right now is a sweetheart. So at the very least I have to raise up the center right here so that I can get it to be a sweetheart. So that's one of the big things that has to change. The other part that has to change is obviously I changed the lines of this bodice. The bodice now is going to have the pointed front and then come up to the waist, whereas the other bodice that I was making in 2020 was going to have this sort of split front look. So I need to change this to give myself the point back. I also need to figure out how this will exactly work, because the inner portion like this, usually the way that bodices worked like later, if they had an off-center closing, was that they would have a center closure from like a base layer, and then the off-center closure would be the top layer only. So I need to decide if that's what I'm going to do here as well. But yeah, the other thing is like this closure fin is all black. You can't see any of this, but it's there's way more excess here than there is right here. So I do need to even that out nevertheless. And then, yeah, so I think mostly it's doing a new front piece. And once I do a new front, then I think I will try it on with the skirt to make sure that like this going on is what I want, because I don't know exactly the shape that I want. And I think I'm gonna need to see it on the bodice to decide if I want like some sort of a peplum or if I just want a point in the back. So I'm gonna cut some new fronts and see how that goes. All right, the new fronts are on, and I have it on with the skirts this time. It is way too long in the center. This is like an 1870s, if that, type point. Like, this is way too long. So I need to shorten this up by a few inches and then continue the curve and shorten that up as well. And in fact, I made it a little too long even on the sides. I had cut up the sides, but it's still too long even once you take the seam allowance out of there. So that needs to shorten up. I am kind of thinking I'm liking the tail shape. I'm not positive, but I don't hate it. So I'm gonna leave that as is for now. I think the changes that I made to the neckline were pretty great. There may still be a little bit of chemise showing here because it's right at the edge and I didn't add seam allowance in, but I don't really feel like changing it more. I also realized I hadn't laced my corset tightly enough for the skirts to fit, so I actually wound up with a little bit of extra now through the waist because my corset was too loose before, and now it's not. So I'm gonna fix this bit and then figure out if that is good and I can run with it. So I had taken it off and cut off the excess and wound up with what this one looks like. But I've realized that that is still just a little later 1870s for me. The bodice in the earlier part of the 1870s was a lot shorter. So I've actually tapered this one up even just a little bit more. And right now it's just folded in place, but I'm gonna go with this side, make this one match it. But now the thing that I need to do, because everything else is good. Oh, the other thing that I didn't mention this before, but from the initial mock-up, I actually lowered the back a little bit so it'd be a little bit more evening. And then in this last time that I've put it on, I've actually tightened the shoulder straps even more. And I also just took in like this side back seam right here, just like the last inch or so. It was kind of sticking out away from my arm side. So I tapered that in about, I guess I took about an inch out actually by the time it got to the very edge of the fabric, but it was only about an inch deep that I did the tapering too. So anyway, this is the right line now. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to kind of just draw like a rough outline for that center decoration sort of thing that I decided on. I'm just going to draw like a rough outline of where that sort of triangle goes. I haven't decided. I mean, I will probably just cut the velvet like a ½ inch farther than that decoration, but it's possible that I might cut the velvet the full and then work at taking it away. But basically the velvet and the twill, they will be the exact same in the back. Like all of those pieces will be flatlined. The front, however, the darts will be done separately on the velvet versus on the twill. And then they'll be incorporated here at the side seams, but then the fronts will like not quite connect. They will at the neckline, but not here, because one of them is going to have that second hidden closure. So lots and lots of hooks and eyes we're going to do right down the center, and then we're going to do additional over here. Maybe I can get away with like less a little bit over there, we'll see. But yeah, I'm going to have the silk piece here. By the way, I did go and find the silk. I've got like, I think a little over a yard total width, and then some extra that is not the actual width of the fabric. So I do have enough left for the sleeves that I want to do and this little center front piece. I do not have enough left for like skirt decoration peplum-y thing, but I am liking this. I'm pretty sure. I think that this is going to be a really nice kind of tier to here. I might trim it with something, otherwise I'll just leave it like the velvet with kind of the binding that I did on the day bodice version, but I do really like that shape that I'm getting, so I think that is gonna be a keeper. So yeah, I just have to figure out that little point section, and then I can go ahead and I'll cut out the velvet. I think this will be a pretty excellent edge line for the velvet, and then the interior little section will have that flap over of the white silk, the ivory silk. So I think we're all good to cut out velvet now. I have a lot of it, so just in case I screw up, there's still extra, but ugh, I'm not looking forward to working with velvet. I will see you tomorrow. All of the velvet pieces are now cut out, and I've actually gone ahead and flatlined the back pieces to the twill that I had used from like the pattern pieces. By the way, I did actually go ahead and make pattern pieces that I can save for later as well. The front piece, oddly enough, all of this started with my go-to bodice pattern. And the front piece, I was able to just like draw the lines onto that pattern and have a new one, like velvet ball gown. I know you're reading that upside down, but the blue is now velvet ball gown. But somehow these back pieces actually could not fit on those shapes. They were just so different. So I created new patterns for those, and they'll just live with the rest of those. Just, you know, if I need to make this again, there's my pattern pile. I'll need it later. So these have been cut out and flatlined. The backs are ready to be put together, which is what I'm going to do next. The fronts are not flatlined because, again, I'm going to be making the darts first. So I really hope that this works with like no stabilization. It's so liquidy. Like, it's very pretty, but it's very liquidy. So I'm going to attempt to do this with no stabilization, where I just do the darts and then probably finish the front edges, which I marked. I know this is all upside down, but this is the front edge right here. And so I marked where the fold is going to be, but I did not cut off that excess yet. I cut it to the same size as the twill one right there, but I will be folding and cutting off the excess and like finishing that up. First, I'm going to do the darts though. Then I'm going to probably start putting the other sides together with the twill, and then figure out this front fold piece and like how I'm going to connect like this little bit, or down here this little bit, to the lower bodice, because I have to figure out where the silk flap will flap in. So yeah, this part's still kind of a question mark. This should be pretty easy, and I'm gonna go do that right now. All of the back pieces are now assembled, and the darts and everything have been done in the front pieces. I do want to give a special thank you to Jean, one of my patrons, because I was actually working on this while we were having our monthly Patreon chat, which, if you are interested in joining my Patreon, that is all linked down below. But I was having a problem where my darts were like twisted inside. So like this portion of the dart, the inner part, was twisted, even though it looked good on the outside, but it probably wasn't gonna lay right. And so Jean suggested that I just cut open the darts. And I feel like that was such a good idea. Thank you, Jean. I don't know why I had never thought of something like that. I never opened my darts, but that's such a good idea. Now they're laying great. I was also able to press it better that way, because you're never supposed to press from the front side of velvet. So I was able to press it nicely from the back, and now it looks great on the front. So now I just have to match up these fronts with the twill fronts and figure out what's going on that like front edge, but then I can put it together with the backs and the bodice parts will be assembled. So I have this all pinned in place, the velvet to the twill underneath, and everything was matching up all nicely. This section here for the fronts, I kind of went with like where this line was, which I had already drawn onto here, and then went an inch out from there and just sort of folded that, cut off the excess, and then folded that in twice so that there's no raw edges showing. I think this is going to be okay. I did cut some curves, like some little notches into the curve here, and it's not laying like 100% perfectly. I know that not doing a double fold would be better, but I don't really want to do bias tape on this. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and like hand sew down that folded in edge, and I'm also going to serge around from probably like about here-ish all the way around, and then probably stop at the corner, because that will still give me the ability to figure out how to put the center silk section in. I did cut sort of a mock-up for that. This is just straight sides, whereas mine is not. And I think that what I'm gonna have to do is, like, once I have these prepped, then I'll try it on and close it up the front. I might even actually go ahead and put hooks and eyes and like finish this edge first before I do that, because this just needs its facing and then hooks and eyes, and that way it can actually like legitimately close. But then I can figure out how this bit works. So I kind of doubt that I'll get to this week since it's Sunday, but hopefully I will be able to do this portion. This is my facing piece for the bodice. So this is 2 inches wide, which gives me 1 inch plus then a 1/2 inch seam allowance on either side. And this piece right here, so this is the edge. This is going to go like against this side, which I guess is the wrong side. It's the outermost side, but like that would normally be hidden. Anyway, it's going to go together here, and then it's going to fold over, and then the edge is going to be folded over here, and so it'll just create like a 1-inch space right here that gives it a more solid edge for putting those closures on. My facing is now on and it looks quite nice. And now what I'm going to do is make a little boning channel. I'm probably only going to put boning in the center fronts and just part of it because I don't want boning to go over the curve of the bust. That would just be weird. So it's going to go right up to the under bust, which is this pin mark right here. I've already cut my boning, which is just synthetic whalebone or German plastic boning, whatever you prefer to call it. And again, I've marked to here. So now I'm going to do a little channel right here, just sewn on the machine, cap it up at the top, and I've cut my bone so that it'll be like a 1/2 inch from this higher part of the bottom. And so it will stop like about there-ish, and then I will cap it at the bottom once I've put the bones in. Now that the bones are in the boning channels, I'm going to go ahead and do a whole bunch of hand sewing. I am going to hand sew the edge of the velvet down, which I realized just a little bit ago that, of course, by not having like an additional lining layer on the back of the velvet, it means that those hand stitches are probably going to be seen, which is annoying, as well as like whenever I do the hooks on that section, that's going to be seen. So that's a little annoying, but I don't feel like going back and trying to redo this whole thing. So hopefully they won't be too obvious, but I'm going to hand sew that down. And then I'm also going to add some of the hooks and eyes to the center closure section. I can't get too far down to like the bottom or the top because I haven't finished those edges yet. And so I can't put a hook there because I don't know what I'm doing yet up there. So I will be doing like the center of it though. And then once that's done, I will attach it to the back section of the bodice and we will have some semblance of a bodice for me to try on and hope that the center bit fits. So despite my outfit change, it is actually the same day. It was a lot hotter outside than I anticipated, but I have a bit of a if you give a mouse a cookie type update for you. So basically I went to start in on the hand sewing and went to pull out the hooks and eyes that I needed and found out that I didn't have any. I had 4. That wasn't going to be enough. So I knew that I needed to run an errand up at like the South Center Mall area anyway, and there's a Joann's there that was across the street. So I figured, okay, let's just go up there, do the errand that I've been needing to run for literally 3 weeks. And I know it's only 20 minutes away from my house. Don't ask me. But do the errand and also go to Joann's and get some hooks and eyes and return stuff that I've been needing to return also for like a month. So I went up there. I got some hooks and eyes. They had 1 package. I needed 2. So I don't think I still have enough to finish this. And I guess you can tell by that sort of hint that it's not actually finished. I might actually have enough hooks and eyes. I'm not sure. I've done most of one side at this point. So, and I even did it like the Victorian way where you do the little line from one to the other. That's like such a Victorian thing. Most extant bodices, you see that in there. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's try it. So I have 3 more to put on this side and I'm doing the whole every other thing as well. Hopefully you can see that black on black. But I have 3 more to put on this side and I have all of them to put on the other. Like I mentioned before, I'm not putting the top and the bottom one on yet, but I have 3 more, not including those. So I will get that done, but it's 9:38 on a Sunday, so it's not in this video. So that's where we're at right now. In fact, I meant to put this piece, put the fronts, both fronts on with the back so I could at least like show you that, and then I forgot. And I remember just now as I was talking to you. I'm gonna go do that. I'll be right back. Okay, that's better. It obviously does not fit well when I'm not wearing a corset and, you know, wearing a dress and all sorts of things like that, but it is now together. So to finish my give a mouse a cookie story from before, I went to go get the hooks and eyes and then remembered that there was a thrift store like a block away and I was like, well, I should just go to the thrift store, right? So then I walked out of the thrift store an hour later and obviously that ate up a lot of my sewing time. But I got a bunch of stuff. So let me know. I went thrifting on Friday, like 2 days ago, and then also today, and I got stuff in both places. Let me know if you would like to see a thrift haul, and I can put together a little thrift haul with that, and probably like anything else that I've thrifted since the last thrift haul, which I'm pretty sure was the fall. So yeah, let me know if that's something that you would like to see and I can put a video like that out for you. But that is going to be it for this bodice today. So I wanted to get farther. I wanted to have all of the hooks and eyes and everything like that done. Ideally, I really wanted to have like that white center section done too. It's obviously not. The white center section I think is going to be the most complicated part, like just the closures and figuring out how it's all going to work. That's going to be the most complicated part of this bodice. And then the sleeves are going to be very time consuming because of applying all of the velvet ribbon to the silk, but I don't expect them to be difficult. So I have 5 days before the Victorian Festival. So next week's video is going to be a lot of really mad rush sewing on this while I also have work and 3 nights of rehearsals. Yeah, and also need to make a bonnet for the natural form dress. That will be in a separate video, assuming that I get time to actually do that. But I have a lot of work to do this week. So I'm gonna stop talking now and end this video here and then get back to hand sewing and editing this video and try not to panic this week. So if you liked this video, please go ahead and click the thumbs up icon. And if you'd like to see more videos like this from me, please go ahead and click subscribe and the little bell icon to be notified every time I post a new video. I do post videos here on YouTube twice a week with my sewing vlogs like this out on Tuesdays and other costuming content out on Saturdays, but I post every day over on my Instagram, so please go follow me on Instagram. It's at Lady Rebecca Fashions. And if you'd like to help support all of the work that I do on this channel, I do have a link to my Patreon and my Ko-fi down in the description below. I'd also like to give a special shout out to my Edwardian level patrons, Sharon, Julie, and Mirage. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you very soon in my very much panic-induced next video. Happy sewing!